Right. Good evening to you all. Right. We have some units which were already started but not completed yet. Not one. I think we have 2 units to be completed. But I'm not going to continue those 2 units now because I thought that it is better to start a new unit and finish that during these online sessions, right? So if we have time, then we can go back or come back and take the other units. Okay. So today we have 1 more units to be completed because all the other units are already started and most of them are completed and some of them right to be completed. Right. So we have only the last unit to be started. So we have 6 units in our grade 11 syllabus. Five of them were already started and most of them were completed. So the last unit is ICT and society, right? According to the textbook, the last unit is named as ICT and society. So when you take the name, right, if you closely look at this name, you can get some idea, ICT and society. So according to the title, right, according to the title of this unit, as a student, you can understand something. See, so you may assume or you may think that it is the unit to show the relationship between ICT and society because the term, the unit name itself has that meaning, ICT and society. So as a student, you may guess that it is a connection between ICT and society. Yes, your guess is almost correct, right? This may be correct, but if it is a relationship of ICT with society, you must take that connection in 2 different aspects, right? One may be the positive thing, positive connection, which means the contribution of ICT towards society. So ICT contributes to the society in a positive way. So that may be the first connection. So if it is a contribution or if it's a relationship, there may be some negative impact which ICT has on society. That should be the negative part. So have you understood? So what I'm trying to say is, so according to the unit, according to the title, it is ICT and society. So if I take the name very closer, I guess that it is the relationship between ICT and society. So if it is the relationship, ask yourself whether it is a positive relationship or whether it is a negative. Positive means contribution of ICT towards society or to the society in a positive manner. Negative relationship means here the contribution, again it is a contribution, no doubt at all, but it is in a negative way. But the contribution of ICT towards society in a positive way, which means the benefits of ICT towards society. So we took enough time to discuss this matter in grade 10, right? Hope you all remember that, right? So in grade 10 first unit, we took enough time to understand the contribution which ICT made to the society. So we took, sectors, right? So many sectors like education, transportation, accounting, what else? Medicine, agriculture. So we took so many sectors or fields, and in all the fields, ICT contributed a lot. So we discussed all these applications of ICT. So it is not good to take all these things again, right? Because we took enough time and discussed. So in grade 11, we are not going to take the positive part because that positive part was already taken in grade 10. So in grade 11, in this unit, we have to keep an eye on the other side, which means on the negative impact, on the negative sides. So when ICT is improved, you know, there are some issues, there are some problems, there are some disadvantages. So we have to discuss those issues which are created by the ICT. Have you understood? So according to the title, it is ICT and society, but that indirectly tells us that that these are issues, right? These are problems. Of course, in this unit, we may take one or two positive parts, right? Some positive contributions, but it is relatively very, very less, right? So majority of this unit covers the negative side of the ICT improvement, right? So I took some time to explain the background. So now you all should have that idea. So this unit has stuff about problems of ICT, or problems which are faced by the people when ICT is improved, right? So let's take the unit first. Right, look. So this is the unit ICT and society. Right. So as I mentioned earlier, the development of ICT provides two things for us. Yes, when something is developed, you know, there should be positive side, that is advantages. We have so many advantages of ICT, right? So these were already discussed in grade 10. Hope you can remember all these advantages. They can be called roles of ICT or contributions of ICT, right? So we discuss them sector by sector, field by field, right? That is I mean completed, right? We don't want to take them back. So when ICT is developed, there are some issues, there are some problems created, right? So we have some benefits. At the same time, on the other side, we have some problems, we have some issues or disadvantages also given to the society, right? So we have to keep an eye on this second side, right? Second part, disadvantages. Okay, look. So when ICT is improved or when ICT is developed, yes, we have some issues, we have some problems, but we are not going to take those problems randomly, because there may be so many problems which we face, right? So it may be health related problems. Sometimes it's a problem related to society. Sometimes it's a problem with environmental, sometimes environmental pollution or something. So we have so many problems which can be in different areas, different, I mean, categories. So it is not good to take them as random. So we are going to take them as categories, as a combination or as a category, right? So then only it would be easy to study, and also then only it would be a better organization, right? So take all these issues as, look here, legal issues. So when ICT is improved, we have some problems, we have some issues related to legal, right? Related to laws. So we disobey some rules. So when ICT is improved, they are related to legal issues. We can be punished by the court, right? So we will discuss those issues. This is not the issue, this is the category. This is the, I mean, title of the issue. There may be some issues which can be categorized as legal issues. I will name them one by one a little later, right? So this is the first issue, type of issue called legal issue. Then ethical issue. You know, ethics is something which is related to values, or I mean characters. So, you know, as a person, we should do something and we should not do something. So this may be tradition, this may be our society. We are bound with the society, right? So society taught us that something to be good to be done, something cannot be done, right? So those are the values. Even if you are a student, you know, you have something to be done, and you also have something which are not to, I mean, not to be done, right? They are ethics. They are the ethics of a student, right? So here, the development of ICT causes some problems in terms of ethics, right? We disobey some rules, I mean, not rules, ethics, right? So we will check those ethics related issues, right? Then environmental issues. As I mentioned earlier, we have some environmental related issues when ICT is improved, right? I will name them one by one. Then society, right? Social issues. Society is something which we are surrounded, right? So there may be neighbors, there may be friends. So there are some problems in our society when ICT is improved. Let's take them one by one. Then health issues, right? So obviously you know that, right? So when ICT is improved, there should be so many problems to the health, right? You know, health, so many, right? If I say one thing, you know, eyes can be affected, right? Eyes problems, that may be one, but not only one, there may be almost all the parts of the body, all of your parts of the body can be affected, right? So we will discuss in detail later, not now, later, right? So they are health issues. Then there is something called malware. It's a kind of software which can do some bad things to the computer. We will discuss later. Generally, softwares do some good things for the computer. That may be the purpose for developing the softwares, but this kind of a software can do some bad things to the computer. This is called malware. I will explain in detail later, right? Then there is one thing called physical and logical issue. This would be better to explain in later, right? Not now. So the last two may not be familiar to you. By looking or by listening to those names, you are unable to understand anything from those two words, last two words. But take a look at the other five. So they are very simple words. They are very closer. So we can understand by listening to these words. We can guess the some of the problems inside. Okay, right. So let's take these issues one by one, starting from legal issue and take everything. Okay, so the development of ICT gives us so many issues. So we take those issues as a category, right? By the nature of the issue, right? We categorize them. So we have legal issues, we have ethical issues, environmental issue, social issue, health, malware, and finally physical and logical. Okay. So take the legal issue first. So the development of ICT pushes the people to disobey some rules, right? So they are legal issues. For an example, take a look at the first legal issue. Data theft. It's very simple. Listen to me carefully, right? Data theft. So with the development of ICT, someone's personal information, such as individual photographs, someone's telephone numbers, family details, some other informations can be stolen by others without their permission, without his or her permission. This is called data theft, right? Stealing someone's personal information without the permission of that particular person. This is data theft. It happens because of the ICT improvement. Look here. Now we all save our personal details in electronic devices. We keep our photograph, we keep our personal information such as credit card numbers, maybe some family details, some friends' contact numbers in a mobile phone and some memory cards or somewhere. So what happens if someone accesses our mobile phone? He or she can easily steal our information. So assume I put my mobile phone on the table and I was a little busy with my work. So, you know, someone can easily take those information from my mobile phone without the knowledge of myself. This is called data theft. Have you understood? It is because of ICT development. If ICT is not developed, you don't have such mechanisms, so such, I mean, phones or memory cards or whatever. So this is called data theft. You can take legal action for that against that person in court. This is legal issue. That person can be punished, right? Because he cannot or she cannot do like that. This is, I mean, a crime, right? So this is data theft, stealing someone's personal information. Okay. Look, second, unauthorized access. Unauthorized access. This is something different than the previous one. In the previous point, the personal informations are stolen by accessing someone's phone or someone's memory card or someone's computer physically. So that person comes to my place, comes to my phone and steal them, right? That is there. But here, if it is unauthorized access, someone's computer, maybe someone's websites can be accessed by others illegally with the help of internet. So, you know, I'm using my computer, I'm connected with internet. So without the knowledge of myself, someone can come to my computer, right? And steal some data and do some bad things. He can delete some detail. This is called unauthorized access. Unauthorized access doesn't mean that it is the access done physically. No, right? It is an access which can be carried out using internet. That person may be somewhere else, right? He uses that internet as a medium and enters into my computer and do some bad things. Look, it happens because of the ICT development. If ICT is not improved, you know, these things, these sophisticated internet facilities or other things are not found. So there is no way to come inside my computer, right? But it happens when ICT is improved or when internet and other stuffs are improved, right? So try to understand the difference between data theft and unauthorized access. Data theft is something related to physically access someone else's computer. But here unauthorized access means accessing someone else's computer using internet, using a network, right? And doing some bad things, right? It may be accessing someone's computer, maybe accessing someone's websites. See, you have, assume you have a social media account, right? Facebook account. So you are the owner, right? But if someone access your account by stealing your username and password, this is called unauthorized access, right? He may steal your username and password in any way, right? And try to access your account without the knowledge of you, right? So this is called unauthorized access. Okay, you can read and understand these phrases later. I'm summarizing everything. Okay, so this is the second one. The person who does unauthorized access can be punished by the court, right? Right. Then the most important part is intellectual property theft. This is also another legal issue, intellectual property theft. So before we take the intellectual property theft, we must understand the term intellectual property. That is important, right? So what is intellectual property? So intellectual property means it may be an innovative idea, maybe innovative creation in your mind, right? An innovative creativity idea in someone's mind can be called intellectual property. Even it is not expected to have as a product, as a machine or as a product. Maybe just an idea in terms of a new product or new machinery can be called intellectual property, because that is related to my knowledge, my intellectual, right? So it is my property. Yes, it doesn't have any physical appearances, physical existence, right? but it is the property of myself, but it is related to my knowledge. That is called intellectual property. But you have to understand that intellectual property must be an innovative idea. That idea, that creation might cannot be at present, right? Your idea should be new, right? That shouldn't be in use nowadays, right? So if it is an innovative idea, if it is a new idea, it must be called intellectual property. Have you understood? So this intellectual property can be stolen nowadays. Someone can easily steal your idea and execute that in practical scenario. See, assume, take a simple example. So assume that you have an innovative idea to produce a machinery, new machinery. So you thought that the machinery is not in present life, present world. You are the first one, you are the first man who, took that idea. So that is, of course, intellectual property. But what can happen is someone or some people, maybe an organization, may hear about your idea, right, by using some other medium or so in any way. They may hear about your idea, and they can execute your plan, which means they can manufacture your tool or your machine. You are the first person who created that idea, but without knowing yourself, an organization steal your idea, right, by using some ways, and they try to manufacture that product. This is called intellectual property theft, because that particular innovative idea is the property of you. But what happened was that company, that organization took that and executed to manufacture machineries. This is illegal. That company or that organization cannot do that, right? You can take actions against them in court. This is called intellectual property theft. But here, there may be an issue, right? See, yes, you got that idea, but now what happened? That organization took your idea and executed, right? Now they are manufacturing the machines. Okay, assume now you went to the court. But in court, to take actions, evidence are important. You have to submit the evidence. So now in the court, you have to prove yourself that you are the first person who created that idea. You have to prove that. But how can you prove? Because that idea is in your mind or was in your mind. Court never accepts something which is in your mind, right? So how to prove that? Even that organization may argue that they are the first person or first organization to create that idea. So how to prove that? So this is where a document called patent comes in, right? Patent. So patent is an official document issued by the government saying that the idea, that the creativity, everything is the property of you. So assume when you have a new idea, right? When you have an innovative idea, first of all, you have to apply for the government to get the patent. So you have to clearly describe your thought, or maybe your executions, your plans, the benefits, everything you have to clearly describe and apply for that patent. Now the government authorized people will carefully check all these things, whether they are new, innovative idea, whether they are useful, right? Whether they are beneficial for the people. They check everything. Once they are approved, when they realize that they are new and they are benefitable, then the government issues a document called what? Patent. That patent is an official document which states that you are the owner for that particular innovative idea. So if you, if you bring or if you get that patent from the government, then you can take actions for anyone who uses your idea, because that official document tells everyone that you are the owner. So now if that company steals your idea, you can submit the patent to the court saying that that patent says that you are the one who owns or who creates that idea. So that patent actually prevents anyone from copying your ideas. Okay, so try to understand. I took some time to explain, but this is very simple. First of all, try to understand the term intellectual property. What is it? It's an innovative, it's a new idea, maybe in your mind. That's enough. It may be an idea, maybe it may be an idea related to a product, right? Anything. That is one, right? That is intellectual property. So what is intellectual property theft? Stealing such intellectual property without your permission, right? So that is intellectual property theft. Then third one, how to prevent that? How to prevent that intellectual property? By taking a document called patent, right? Patent is an official document given by the government preventing others to copy, right? Copy your idea, okay? So let's take that. Intellectual property refers to the creations of the mind, such as inventions, literacy, and artistic works, symbols, images, anything, right? It may be any idea, right? It may be idea to produce a machine. It may be an idea to create a, business trademark. It may be an idea to create a recipe. It may be an idea to create any, right, literature, anything, right? Anything is intellectual property. It is an innovative idea or completely new product from a person or an organization currently not in use. You must understand this. That idea must be innovative, which means that cannot be found present, right? That must be totally new. Okay, using someone else's intellectual property without the knowledge of that person can be considered as intellectual property theft. Okay. It is possible to prevent intellectual property from being stolen by taking patents from authorized organizations, right? So if you have patent, then it is possible to stop the others to copy your idea, right? So remember that. Right, so here I already explained the patent. A patent for an invention is granted by government to the inventor, giving the inventor the right to stop others from using the innovation, right? So it is an official document which ensures to stop copying your innovative idea, right? If you have that patent, then you can easily stop others from copying. Okay, so this is a legal document. You can produce them in court to stop to take actions, right? That is important. Okay, finally, fraud. So, frauds are always there in ICT. So signature fraud. So sometimes signature related frauds can be happen. To withdraw money from banks, people can put your signature in different, by using different mechanisms or different technologies, and withdraw money from accounts. So that is signature fraud. I don't want to elaborate. A brief introduction is enough. Credit card fraud. So this may be the common fraud happens in the modern world. So credit cards are always, used by the people. So there can be some issues. Money transfer fraud, right? So money transferring. So whenever you transfer money, people can easily steal the money from your account. This is called money transfer. Okay, all these things are related to legal issue. Okay. So these are the 4 different issues related to legal. Let me take them again. First one, data theft. What is it? Stealing someone's personal information from their pen drive or memory card or computer or phone without their permission, right? Unauthorized access, what is it? Accessing someone's computer or website without his or her permission, right? But here, remember, internet is the medium, right? You access their computer, not physically, by using the internet, right, or network. Intellectual property, just now I explained. Intellectual property is an innovative idea related to, right, literature or maybe business trademarks, right, machineries in someone's mind, right? Stealing such property is called intellectual property theft. To prevent that intellectual property theft, that inventor has to take or has to, obtain an official document called patent from the government, right? The patent is an official document which ensures the ownership of you, right, of the inventor. Finally, fraud, right? There may be so many frauding activity taking place, signature related fraud, credit card fraud, and money transferring fraud, okay, right. So we concluded the first problem, first issue called legal issue, right? So let me take the second issue called ethical issues. So ethics, as I mentioned earlier, ethics is something related to values, right? So this may be related to legal, right? Legal can be related, but this is something different. As I mentioned earlier, so there are something which we can do, and there are something which we cannot do. These are called values, right? So look here, there is one ethical issue called plagiarism. This is how it is pronounced, plagiarism. So plagiarism it may be the common issue found nowadays. So showing someone creations, right? Showing or presenting someone's creations as ours, as yours. It is called plagiarism, right? So assume I have written, right? I have written an article, right? Article with 10 pages. But another person copied some of the paragraph from my article and try to, show that as his in a newspaper or something, right? Originally, initially, I am the person who wrote that article, right? But someone has stolen two paragraphs from my article and published those two paragraphs in a newspaper in his name. So what happens here? He is trying to show that those two lines are his creations. This is called plagiarism, right? Look here, plagiarism is presenting someone else's work or ideas as your own without the consent or without their consent. So you also often do that. Think about that. So whenever your teacher asks you to write an assignment in your school, right? You all go to the websites or maybe books, right? And copy the paragraphs and put them in your assignment, right? Maybe as a front sheet on the front side, you put your name and everything and submit. So writing your name on the front sheet means you are trying to tell everyone that you are the owner, you are the person who writes all the documents. Have you written or did you write all these things? No, right? Some of the contents may be your own, right? But some of them have been borrowed, have been taken from external sources, right? But by putting the names, your name on the front sheet, it's not good, because when you put your name on the front sheet, you are indirectly telling everyone that you are the owner for all this content. This is exactly the plagiarism, right? So yes, it is not legal problems, right? You cannot be punished by the court, but this is not the thing to be done, right? So as I mentioned earlier, we are bound with values, right? Everyone is bound. So according to the value, your action is not right, not good. It is not acceptable, right? So this is plagiarism. Right. So now I hope that you understood the word plagiarism, right? But can't we use the other's work in our document? Can't we use someone else's writing in my creation or in my article or in my assignment? I can, right? I can use others' work in my assignment or in my article by using some techniques. If I use those techniques, then it is not issue, right? Let me explain. Before I take that issue, I must tell you one more thing. Look here. From this definition, you may have a misconception. See, plagiarism is presenting someone else's work as ours. So you may think that plagiarism means someone's article or someone's essay or someone's poem. But that is not okay. Someone's article, presenting someone's articles, presenting someone's essay, poem as mine. Yes, it is plagiarism. But at the same time, it may be any creation. See, if I assume that you have taken a beautiful photograph from by your camera, by your phone camera or something, you uploaded that in your social media. But without your permission, I download that photo and add that in my assignment or maybe in my social media. I downloaded from your social media and uploaded to my social media as my own. So this is what? Plagiarism. Don't think that it is limited to text. This is picture. That is plagiarism. See, you have drawn a beautiful, scenery or something. It's a drawing, right? You have a drawing. I copied the drawing from you and added that in my assignment. This is plagiarism. So in this case, it is not text, it is not image, it is a drawing. Drawing is something different than the picture taken by a camera, right? So anything, right? So remember, plagiarism is presenting someone's creation. It may be article, it may be novel, it may be short stories, it may be poems, right? It may be artistic work, anything, right? So that is plagiarism, right? So now I come to the point. Okay, how to use the others' work without violating these values? There are three methods, right? There are three methods or three techniques which you can use without disobeying these values or ethics. Okay, let's take them. Citing. So look here, I will explain. See, assume you borrowed a paragraph, one paragraph from someone's article, right? There is an article written by someone. You borrowed one paragraph from that article because you want that paragraph in your article because you are writing an article. So you want that paragraph. So yes, you can add that article without making any changes. Okay, now you have added that article. Maybe closer to that article, you have to mention that particular person's name because you borrowed from someone, right? His name or maybe some information about his book or maybe some other information. You have to mention along with your paragraph, along with your text. So if you do so, then there is no problem at all. If you do so, it means you are in line with values. Have you understood? Mostly, this kind of citing is done on the bottom part of the page. Assume you have the page. Right now, you are writing the page and the paragraph is added. You borrowed from someone and added. So as citing, you have to mention that particular person's name and some information. So it may be little tough to show very closer to the paragraph because that page has many paragraphs. So on the footer side, on the footer part of the page, you can show the information about the person and his or her book, right? That is called citing. Okay, let me show this, then only you can understand. Look here, look at this idea. Right, look at this idea. So assume this is an article, right? This, you are writing this book. This is a page, right? Listen to me. So here you have, right, you have a sentence. This is the sentence you borrowed, right? This is the sentence you borrowed. At the end of the sentence, see, there is a number. You put 1. Why did you put 1? Because that 1 describes something. Look at the footer. This is the footer of the page. On the footer of the page, you mention or you describe the meaning of 1. See, 1, maybe the person name, maybe the book name and page name, something there. So by showing such details, you are trying to show that it is not yours, right? You are trying to show the others that this is borrowed from someone. Have you understood? Look at the other sentence. So there you have some words or some phrases. It may be a paragraph, right? Here I have one sentence. Then puts a number. So that should be shown on the bottom side, maybe on the footer. So number 2, so it shows the person, maybe his book, some other details. So by doing such things, you are trying to show that you are not copying. I mean, you are not showing that that they are yours. Right now you are showing the external word that these are copied from someone. This is called citing. Have you understood? So it may be a very good method, but not found in normal books. So if you have some, advanced English books and some other textbooks, you can find such scenes, right? Citing. Okay. So what is it? Mentioning the owner's name and his or her information along with the borrowed text, right? That is called citing. Then quoting, quoting. So quotation means showing borrowed section within inverted comma. Again, take my example. You are writing your article, but that article needs a borrowed paragraph. So you have borrowed a paragraph from someone's work. So now when you start writing that borrowed paragraph, put that borrowed paragraph within double quotes, within inverted comma. So your borrowed section, your borrowed text must be within inverted comma. So if you are quoting those, text within inverted comma, it means you are trying to show that it is someone else's work, that is not yours. Have you understood? So here, inside of this, right? Inside of this, there should be a paragraph, that borrowed paragraph, because the inverted comma started here, inverted comma ended here. So in between them, you have to write any number of paragraphs, right? You can give any number of paragraphs, but give them in 2 inverted commas. This is called quoting, right? So have a look at this example. Take a look at this. This one. So here, right here. So look here, this is where the copied paragraph started. You can clearly see the inverted comma there. So now it starts. Everything has been borrowed, right? Every text have been borrowed. But at the end, it is again, you have to put the inverted comma. So this inverted comma tells that it is the ending point. So between this starting inverted comma and closing inverted comma, you have borrowed text, right? So this is also a kind of, actually these are some kind of, gratitude, right? You are giving some gratitude the original owner, right? So this is also possible. If you do so, then there is no issue in terms of ethics, right? Right. The last one may be the commenting. You can see everywhere. Referencing or reference. What is it? So I come to the point again. Assume that you are writing an assignment. Your teacher asked you to write an assignment. So assume that you have completed your assignment, 10 pages, right? 10 pages. So at the end of your assignment, as a 11th page, right, you have to write all the sources you reference or you go through or you went through and listed. You have to list all these references on the last page. So sometimes you might have visited to websites, web pages. So try showing the URLs of the web page. You know the term URL, right? So if you are if you visited to one web page, try copy that URL and list that in the reference sheet. Assume that you referred a book. So as a reference list, give the book name, maybe author name, maybe the edition, maybe the page number, right, in which you borrowed, put it. If you referred a newspaper, give the newspaper name, maybe the date, right, page number, give it. So this is the most commonly used method because here, if it is, even if it is citing, sometimes it troubles the user because it is inside of the text, it is inside of your content. So sometimes it makes troubles the user. But here, that reference is listed as the last page. So even the people who can see your assignment can go to the last page easily and check the reference list. So this is most common. Even you must know this. Even in school, right? When you want to submit an assignment, please make sure that you have reference list at the back side, because without reference, you know, your document never be accepted, because you know all of your text, all of your assignment text cannot be yours, cannot be your own ideas. Some of the paragraph may be yours, but definitely some of them have been borrowed from other sources, maybe from newspaper, maybe from books, maybe from websites. So you must show them. You must show all the books, all the websites which you referred, right? That would be a good practice. So keep that kind of a practice from your childhood, right? Because when you grow up, you know, mostly in universities, when you are asked to submit an assignment or research report or something, those people definitely check whether you add the reference list at the end. If you don't add that reference list, they never accept, because without the reference list, you are trying to show them that all the things are yours. In practical world, that is impossible, right? At least some parts must be borrowed from some other sources, right? So reference must be. Look here. This is how reference looks like here. So look here. So maybe the author name, the book names, right? The others, maybe page name. So, right, here I have put something. There are some difference here. If it is a website, put the URLs, right? Okay, some websites or magazines, put the page numbers. So like that, you have to take that as 1, 2, 3, right? So it is a list. This is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4. So everything is a list. You can see such things even in Tamil books, right? So whenever you have a book, try to check that, right? So mostly some research books, some other textbooks have this reference as a back as a last page, right? This is added as a last page. Okay, right. So if you are doing such things, it means you are not doing plagiarism, right? So you can use others' work by showing these three things, right? Citing, quoting, referencing. If you use things, it means that you are not doing plagiarism, okay? But if you don't follow any of them, definitely it is plagiarism, okay? Right. Right. Then the next one. So far we have taken two issues, right? Two types of issue. What's the first issue? Issue related to legal, right? Legal issues. So we discussed 4 legal issues. Then we took the other issue, next issue, it is ethical issue. Fortunately, we have only one issue because we are sticking with the book. There may be more than one ethical issues. But since your book has only one ethical issue, I also want to stick with the book. So that is plagiarism, right? Okay. Now come to the third type of issue called physical issue, right? Or logical issue. Okay. So let me explain the physical security or physical related thing first. Then only I can come to the logical. So we all know that our computers can be affected by some external factors. Right? There may be so many factors which can affect our computers. It may be electricity, it may be thieves, it may be some external environmental factors such as dust and other things, maybe some external disasters, right? Environmental disasters. So our computer systems face always problems, right? To protect your computers from these external things, we have two different security methods. One is called physical security. The other one is called logical security, right? So for protecting your computer from external factors, we use two methods, physical method or physical security method. Second one is logical security method. Let me take the physical security method first, right? After completing the physical, we can move to the logical, right? So it's too simple. Physical security means providing the security to the computer in the form of physical components. I repeat it, providing security for your computer system in the form of a physical device or physical appearance. This is called physical security. Let me take one example since we don't have enough time to, discuss all the things today. I take the first one to justify the, name physical security. So you all know UPS, right? Uninterruptible power supply, right? So why do we use UPS? You know, UPS, right? UPS supplies the power when the power is failed, right? Assume you are using the computer, suddenly you face a power cut, the power is disconnected. So what happens when the power is disconnected? Your computer will be turned off immediately. So your hard disk was working, your random access memory was working, more importantly your CPU is working. So all these devices, all these parts definitely be stopped immediately. This is not good for your computer, right? Your hardwares will be weak in the very near future, right? So to avoid such things, to avoid such failures, you have to attach your computer, you have to connect your computer with UPS. So what happens when you use UPS? UPS has a battery. So even though the power is failed, that UPS provides the electricity, needed electricity to your computer for some time. So during that period, you can safely turn off your computer. So now what happened? Your computer is protected by a UPS. So you know UPS is a physical appliance, right? Physical component. This is called physical security. Didn't you get the point, right? So try to understand. Yes, I know that you can understand the protection method, but try to understand the term physical security, right? So it is the security measure or security method which is given in the form of hardware. So this is called physical security. So not only UPS is the common appliance, right? Common appliance to protect your computer. Not only UPS, we have so many methods for protecting our computer. Okay, so I will list them one by one later. Okay, but so today we covered very little area. So as usual, I'm going very slowly. So started off with the negative side of ICT improvement. So we categorize them in different types, right? Legal issue, ethical issue, social issue, health issues, right? Environmental issues. Then we started off with legal issue and took some of the legal issues. Then we discussed about ethical issues or issues related to value. Finally, started to discuss the physical and logical related issues, right? So try referring these things again, right? Because with this point, I can continue from next class, right? So it is important to understand everything clearly, right? So it's enough for today. I conclude at this point, and we can meet it again, right? So thank you.